And making a clean sweep today, walking away with the debut novice and the overall. It goes to athlete number 1, Gabriel.
Welcome back to the Peak Natty podcast. Today we have Mr. Ryan Rector with us, otherwise known as Rectahfit on Instagram, right?
Yes, sir.
Cool. Why don't you tell the people who you are for those who don't know?
Awesome, man. So my name is Ryan Rector, mainly known as Recta pretty much on all my social media. I am a natural bodybuilder, full-time college student, and an online fitness coach as well. And I just competed in my first natural bodybuilding show in October.
Okay. And how did that go? And who was your coach?
So my coach was Michael Donato, and it was an absolutely, yeah, man. It was a great experience working with him. Definitely a lot of stairs, most cardio I've ever done in my entire life, but it was worth it. It was a great show and everything. We placed first in teens, second novice, second debut, and I think third in the overall.
Okay, third overall. How was your experience on your first show? Obviously, I've done 3 shows now. I'd say every prep is a different experience, and a lot of people love it. Some people burn out from it and end up kind of walking away from bodybuilding post-show if they have a bad relationship with food. But how was your experience dieting, cardio, and just the overall suffering that prep entails?
For sure, man. So I had never been really low body fat, even probably 10% in my entire life. And so it was a different experience for me. I'd never tracked my macros like that before. I'd never consistently, been on point with my diet, my training, my cardio, all of this stuff. And it was definitely a great experience. We actually were ahead on our prep. And for me, that was really good because I was eating around 2,900 calories, I think 6 weeks out or something. And then we really only started to kind of have to push it really close to prep. So that last month or so was pretty rough, but for most of prep, I was feeling pretty good. And when it came to the post show, I was really proud of how I was able to control myself post show, because I got a crumble cookie off stage. And that kind of started the spiral of everything. And once, I think it was a couple days after, I started to, try these different foods and things like that. But I was right back on plan after, I think a week and a half or so. Had a lot of water weight, like every bodybuilder does. And, I'm just glad that I was able to get back post show and get it right back dialed in. We're into the bulk right now. So.
Yeah, I think a lot of bodybuilders struggle post-show. Obviously, post-show blues, for anyone that doesn't know, it's basically when you've been working towards this goal for months and months and months, and all of a sudden your show day's over, that goal is taken away from you. If you do not have your routines still in place, if you do not hop right back on plan and keep your coach for the reverse diet, and you don't set your next goals, you will get post-show blues. You will be that depressed fat bodybuilder that blows up in weight. And it is very, very crucial that you keep your coach and you keep someone to hold you accountable post-show, set new goals, because if not, man, I see a lot of people that go off the rails, gain a ton of body fat. They, they start to be obsessed with food, and they become depressed. It's what post-show blues is. So something I'm huge on with all my athletes. If any bodybuilders are listening to this, just remember, guys, post-show, it can be very hard, but the key to it is having someone to keep holding you accountable, but also setting your next goals. If you don't set your goals for your next show, if you don't set your off-season goals, your strength goals, potentially a new off-season split, pushing up the volume, trying some new exercises, things of that nature, you will get post-show blues. So I really, really like to emphasize that post-show with my clients, because I think it helps a lot, man, because if you don't have someone to warn you, and if you don't have someone to walk you through the post-show phase, it can be very, very difficult. So Ryan, I am very glad to hear that you were able to nail your post-show phase, because it's hard, especially for a first-time competitor, man.
Yeah, 100%. And
I messed up mine after my first show, as most people do their first show. You learn after that, once you're a vet. But hearing that from your first show is very, very cool to hear. Why do you think you were able to do that? Was it your mindset? Was it your coach that held you accountable? What was I know Davis Penny, he told me that it was honestly, he was scared that people wouldn't like him if he wasn't lean anymore. So that helped him literally nail his reverse out of fear. So what would you say mentally helped you nail your reverse?
100%. So for me, I definitely did fall into that rabbit hole after like a week. I, had been spending so much time getting ready for the show. The show day came, my family was there. I had like friends travel from another state, and it was such an amazing experience. And like for a week after, so I go to university and I have like a transition. So I'll have an internship period and I'll have a school period. And so this like week after my show was kind of called like the dead week, where I didn't have either of those things. So I spent a lot of time at home, and I was alone. I was pretty much home, isolated, and just like not, I was by myself after this. And so I was really caught up in my head during this 1 week after. And I was, really controlled by food. I was trying to get back in the gym and this and that. And, I did talk with Michael a lot. He definitely helped me get out of my head, because it was rough, like for that 1 to 2 week period. But I just saw like where I started to reflect on where I came from, because in the summer, I mean, I was working 30 hours on the weekends. I was doing, a full-time student. I was an online coach. I didn't have as many clients at the time, but I still was doing that. I was taking care of my workouts and all of these other things. And like, it was just a time to reflect, right? Especially being isolated and having this post-show kind of, I guess downslide or like kind of rough moment. And for me, like, I was like, dude, like I have more food now. I'm a healthier body fat, and there should be no reason that, I should just let myself go completely off the walls. And so it was a lot of just kind of reflecting, and especially seeing in the future, like where I wanted to be. I knew I had to like pull myself out, because if I let myself stay in that period of my life, or like in that period after the show, it would be very, very hard to get out. So I decided, it's time to get everything back in, get back on plan. And we executed.
No, that's awesome. One thing I really wanted to talk about you, honestly, the main topic of this podcast today is what bodybuilding does for your mindset. Because I actually made a post on this the other day, right? What does bodybuilding do for you? It's so much more than just your physique, so much more than just getting strong, looking good. It changes you as a person, right? It makes you more disciplined. Obviously, with the diet, but it's more than that, because it spills over to every area of your life, right? You become harder working in your job. You become harder working in your relationship. You have this unbreakable mindset where when life gets hard, things get hard, you don't let it bother you. You figure it out. Because that's what you have to do as a bodybuilder, man. Prep gets hard. You don't have you think you don't have time to do cardio. Well, you still got to do it. So you just got to figure it out, man. And you think that you're busy all day. Well, guess what? You got to plan ahead. You've got to meal prep for the next day. You've got to plan in advance, because if you're not planning, you're just planning to fail, right? So I think one thing bodybuilding did for me is it helped me get a lot more organized. It helped me not like things that aren't productive, if that makes sense. I don't really hear people talk about that a lot, but bodybuilding made me addicted to productivity, because in the gym, all you're doing is being productive. You're getting better, right? You're building your physique. All you're doing when you do your cardio is you're being productive. You're working towards your shreds. Every single meal that you eat on plan is productive towards your, physique goals, towards the package you need to bring to stage. And even going to sleep and getting high quality sleep is productive for your physique. So being productive and constantly bettering yourself, bodybuilding wise, physically wise, just spilled out to every area of my life for me, and made me always want to mentally be productive when it comes to work, when it comes to coaching, when it comes to content. So that's something that it did for me 100%. So run me through everything bodybuilding did for you mentally as a whole, and how it improved your life.
100%. So I had always been a pretty ambitious person growing up. I had entrepreneurial like ambitions. I always wanted to achieve, great things. And once I had left college football last year around December time,
Where'd you play at?
I played at Lawrence Tech. It's a NAI in Michigan.
Okay, cool.
But I did that for like a semester. It really wasn't my thing. I was only there because it was kind of just a cool thing to do. Like in my high school was go and play college sports. And so I ended up, gaining a lot of love for fitness in the summer before I went to, go to college for football. And I found myself having to I was torn, right? I liked football and I liked, bodybuilding and fitness, but I had to put bodybuilding and fitness to the side because I was going to be a college athlete. And so ultimately when football left my life, I kind of fell into this rut because it felt like I had wasted time. with bodybuilding and fitness, but I also didn't have the thing that I trained for my entire life. And so right before my prep, I was in like the worst shape I'd ever been in my entire life. And I knew I was ambitious, and I knew that, there was things that I had to do in my life, but I didn't want to do them, right? I just didn't feel like I had that discipline, and I was always ambitious, but there was something about me and just not executing, right? I was just kind of going through the motions. And so during this time, I was like, you know what? I need to get into better shape. I need to feel better about myself. I need to be more confident. And this, something needs to change, or I'm not going to be where I want to be. And so I hopped into the prep. I signed up for the bodybuilding show. And during this time, the coolest thing that I learned about prep and that helped me is like you said, you have to execute no matter what. There's no excuses, right? You have to do the things that need to be executed on. And if you don't, you're going to show up to the show day and just, you're going to be embarrassed. You're not going to be like in the shape that you want to be in. And so all throughout prep and during this time, like I said, I had to work to make money because, I was paying off my coach. I was paying off different things for college and things like that. So I was working 30 hours on the weekends doing the online coaching. I was a full-time student as well. And I was forced to make sure that my schedule was completely locked in and that I was not wasting a single ounce of my time, because I had priorities that were not just bodybuilding. And so during this period, it was one of the hardest times, of my life, just because of the external factors of working, being a full-time student, being on prep, doing all these things, trying to be social as well and keep that aspect. And so it really just, it changed my life, to be honest with you. Like I would have never gotten to where I am today without doing that show. And a lot of it is just mentality. It's just understanding how the mind works and doing the things that you're supposed to do. And that's kind of a lot of what I talk about in my content is the mindset aspect of it. Because I think that if you don't have the mindset, if you don't have the, belief in yourself shown through the actions that you take each day, like you're not going to get to where you want to be, not even just with your physique, not even just in bodybuilding, but in life in general. Right. And so during the prep, this just shone a big light on that for me. And it helped me, just develop my mind. It developed my relationship with Christ as well. Like I definitely grew a lot in my faith during that time. And yeah, it's just absolutely changed my life. And now I'm able to help others do the exact same through my coaching and things like that. It's not necessarily just like more of the fitness side. I bring a lot of the habits and the mindset and the identity shift and all that, those kinds of things, because I think that they're so important.
Yeah. What were you doing before coaching for work, and what made you be able to go all in on yourself as an online coach?
So before, I was actually a dishwasher for most of my life. I just washed dishes. And then last March, since like this new school that I'm at, I have to get like an internship, right? Because what I'll do is I'll work 40 hours, like I work a full-time internship job for like 2.5 months. I'll have a week in between, and then I'll go and do school for 2.5 months. So it's a co-op program. It's kind of like flip-floppy like that. And so I did do that before I actually started my coaching business. I landed an internship. And then in the summer, I was able to land a couple, like maybe like 1 or 2 clients, some hometown guys. And then just throughout my prep, when my presence grew on social media, I was starting to gain a lot of traction and awareness. I started to grow that. And then it really hasn't taken off until the past couple of months, to be completely honest with you. From like September to December, it was really like dry for me. It just wasn't working well. That time I was in my internship. So I had another job, I had another source of income, and I was just managing a couple clients here and there, but it's really grown the past couple of months. I think it's just kind of the shift in my content. Before I would just post like mainly like an influencer, mainly just, and I mean, I was on prep, and it was working for me. And so I kind of just doubled down on that. But I realized that a lot of the guys that I want to work with, I have to connect with them, right? And the only way to do that is to have real content that's actually me. And so, yeah, I mean, that's kind of where the coaching has taken off for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree with that 100%. I think there's a lot of people that, yeah, it can be cool to, be an influencer and like, I guess, post what you do, surface level stuff, post your workouts, post your physique. But some of my favorite people to follow on social media are people that talk to the camera, people that inspire you, people that give free value. So anybody listening to this that wants to start posting on social media, don't know, what direction to go, feel like, nothing gets views, feel like, people say it all the time that the algorithm hates them, but in reality, they're just posting boring, average content. Like, if you guys want to stand out when it comes to social media, you have got to show your personality, you have got to give free value, and you have got to motivate and inspire other people. And, sometimes that comes from putting yourself out there on social media. So you definitely have to have an unbreakable mindset where you don't care what you post and you don't care what other people say about you. You don't care what people think. You are just here to inspire others and help others. And you genuinely love the game and you genuinely love bodybuilding. So what has been your favorite part of coaching so far?
Like, honestly, a lot of the time, like, it's really cool to see the physique transformations, right? It's really cool to see people's like physiques change in real time and their bodies change in real time. But for me, the biggest thing is like when they tell me that their work has improved, right? When their mindset has improved, when their life just in general, their relationships with other people, they're starting to notice, the amount of effort that they're putting in. That has been the coolest part for me. Just because, like, that's like what my program's built around as well. So I guess that's another reason why. But just getting to interact with my guys, we have a community, we do like group calls each week and things like that. And just kind of having that community of similar mindset individuals and like being able to see our lives change and grow and experience a bunch of new things just from the foundation of fitness, right? In my opinion, I think that if you can set the standard high in your fitness, every other area, it can be improved, right? Because if you like, let's say, focus on your career, right, but you neglect your health, your career can only go so far, right? Your health will always hold it back. And same thing for pretty much everything else in your relationships, and different things that you do. I think that fitness is the foundation. And so it's just really cool seeing people's lives change, not only physically and with their confidence levels, but just, throughout the day.
What do you believe makes a great online coach? What do you believe like separates someone from being great and someone that is just normal, that kind of just gives, a workout plan and a meal plan?
Yeah. So when it comes to online coaching, like for me, if I was with Michael, right? Like he was always there to kind of talking me through things, because I think where a lot of people go wrong when they get into fitness is they get a lot in their head, right? Especially in the DMs that I'm talking to people, they're like, yeah, I tried this, I switched this. And they just tell me about like how they're constantly changing things. They're getting in their head. They're not sure what they should do. And I think the best online coach is someone who cares about fulfillment, right? Who cares about getting the results for their guys or girls, right? And, just truly caring, because I made this mistake when I first started, getting a couple guys, and like, I was really just focused on kind of scaling. I didn't really have, a lot of, I was seeing a little bit of success, but I needed to make some more money from it. And it was just like a struggle for me. Right. And I started to not focus too much on fulfillment. And I started focusing a lot on, just growing the business, growing my social media and things like that. And that was a mistake I made very early, right? When I had like maybe 2 clients, and it was mainly when they were free, right? When I was just doing it for free and trying to grow it. But the biggest thing for me now is like every time I get a guy in, fulfillment, right? Making sure that they're taken care of, making sure that they have certainty, right? And especially when you have someone who's online and you hop on a call with them and really all they've seen from you is an hour conversation in your content, right? And so the biggest thing for me is, fulfillment, 1, but 2, just making sure that they are comfortable in their decision, right? Because coaching costs money, and you don't want them to like make an investment into themselves like that and feel like they're being neglected, right? Because I've had to invest in the mentorships and coaching, and a lot of that has stemmed from, a lot of my experiences have gone directly into my coaching as well, because I've had great experiences with the people that I've invested into. And a lot of the time it's always because they take care of me, they're getting right after it. And like, that's super important, right? Because like I said, you're making investment into yourself. You want to feel like you trust the person that you're working with.
Mm-hmm. How do you help clients build discipline when motivation is low? Because as a bodybuilder, man, towards the end of prep, hormones start tanking, cardio goes up, food goes down. motivation may be really low. People start feeling sorry for themselves. The number one tip I give prep athletes or, anybody that is dieting, honestly, is don't ever feel sorry for yourself. So how would you help a client build discipline when motivation is low?
For sure, man. So how I built my program and how I see like in my life is I build it around habits. Okay. And with habits, right, you want to make the good ones as easy as possible to execute on, and you want to make the bad ones as hard as possible to fall back on. And so when it comes to discipline, like I think a lot of people get this idea in their mind that it's something that people have over others, right? That they're born with, that they just are naturally disciplined. And I completely disagree, right? Because I was always disciplined sometimes like when it came to sports, but when it came to work, I wasn't, right? And I was able to develop the skill of discipline in my work, in my school, in tracking my meals and things like that over time by making good habits in my life easier to execute on. And so I think it's really just understanding yourself as an individual. And so like if my clients is like, yeah, I'm missing the gym a lot. I'm finding it very hard to get there after work or something like that. What I tell them is like, okay, well, we need to make it as easy as possible for you to get to work. How do we do this? One example that I like to use a lot is like the night before, pack your gym bag, pack your stuff for the day, right? So then on your way home from work, when you pass the gym, you can go right in. You don't have to go home and, now you're tired. Now you're already like on the couch and things like that. You have limited the friction in you getting to the gym. And I think that's the biggest thing when it comes to discipline is understanding your life, understanding what you struggle with, staying consistent, and then just building these habit systems in to continue to execute on them.
Yeah, 100%. That's a really good point. That helps a lot with cardio. If anybody is on prep right now, doing a lot of fasted cardio, if you set your clothes out the night before, you have your, morning electrolytes, morning water ready in the fridge to just grab, throw on your shoes and get out of the house and go smash your morning cardio. That makes it 10 times easier to get her done than if you don't plan out the night before. Same thing with meal prepping. If you're busy and you got to stay on diet, just meal prep for the day in advance the night before. It takes 30 minutes the night of. I don't really like meal prepping for the whole week, right? It takes a ton of time, takes all your space in your fridge. But if you just meal prep the night before for the next day, you have no excuse and you're setting yourself up to succeed instead of setting yourself to scramble, for your meals and, potentially go hungry and then have to go off diet in order to, get food in for the day. So I think just preparation is probably the most underrated, but valuable tip when it comes to dieting, when it comes to sticking to your goals. What do you think?
100%. And I'm with you on that too. I don't like to meal prep for the whole week. Especially when I'm in like a growing phase, I really just meal prep like ingredients a lot of the time. I think it's just so much more like it's so much easier and you have like flexibility, right? You can swap out different carb sources, you can swap out different proteins, different vegetables and micronutrient options. And for me, like the biggest thing, like you said, is just preparation. The more you can be prepared, the less that you're preparing to fail, right? And it's like if you can do that, it'll make consistency and the whole discipline aspect a lot easier because like we're all humans, right? We don't want to do the things that kind of, are hard to do or out of the way. And if you understand that if you just make them easier for yourself and your environment, that it'll be something that you just kind of execute on day to day.
100%. What type of impact did your bodybuilding prep have on your relationship?
That is a good question. So when you're on bodybuilding prep, you are like really cranky. Like you're not really the funnest person to be around. And like, for me, like I understood that and it was my first prep. So I didn't even know this was going to happen. Right. And so it strengthened my relationship, I would say, because she was very understanding. Right. And there were some days where I'm like, I just do not, because we are kind of long distance. She's like 2 hours away right now. And like, it really grew our relationship because she was understanding, right? She knew what I was doing. She knew how hard I was working. And, just having her support throughout that process. And like some days, I'm like, hey, like I really do not want to be on the phone talking right now. Right. And she understood that. And, having that, someone who understands what you're going through, supports your goals, and is really just there for you, especially during a bodybuilding prep when, you're literally like just going balls to the wall for months. right? And having someone like that in my life was just so amazing for me. And she came to my show as well. She was there to support with my family. And I mean, show day was just an amazing experience, having all of my loved ones there, having my boys there. And yeah, man. So it definitely strengthened my relationship, just because, I mean, going through a time like that where not everything's perfect, but you're still making it work. You're still trying to find time to talk to each other, but you're also, you know, compromising and understanding, like, okay, you know, maybe we should be on the phone tonight, and just because, like, I gotta go to bed, or I gotta, you know, get up early to go do fasted cardio, things like that. So that's pretty much how I would say prep has affected my relationship.
Man, that's awesome. You know, she's the one when she's super understanding. Because guys, I have gone through 2 preps in 2 different relationships, and you know, both of them kind of said they understood, but they weren't down for it. I'm not gonna lie. When times got hard, you know, when I was low energy, when I was like a shell of myself, you know, no personality, no humor, just kind of living to go to sleep as early as possible towards the end of prep, hormone shot. They said they understood in the moment, and every time what I've experienced is they built a resentment for, you know, not giving them the attention they want and not giving them the love they want. And so it is very, very difficult to manage a relationship sometimes when times get hard on prep as a bodybuilder. So it is so important for any of you guys that do compete, and any of you guys that are trying to push your body to the extreme. That's what bodybuilding is. That's what stage level conditioning is. It is not healthy. It is pushing yourself to the absolute extremes. Anything you do to the extremes, whether it's playing in the NFL, whether it is, you know, extreme sports like, you know, BMX, motocross, any of those action sports, it's never healthy when you take it to the extreme, right? But it is a short period and a short sacrifice for the sport we love. And we love pushing ourselves to that limit in order to try to win and collect some hardware. But if you do not have a partner who's understanding, your relationship probably won't last. So hearing that, you know, it only strengthened you guys, and she was understanding and she supported you the whole time is really, really cool to hear. So make sure you guys communicate with your partner. If you're about to go through a prep, let them know, you know, it's not always going to be easy, but if they're down to work through the hard times with you, you know, you can only succeed, and you can have a even stronger relationship like Ryan here. So that's cool to hear, man.
Yes, sir.
That is cool to hear. So what mistakes do you think a lot of natural bodybuilders make?
Let's see here. I mean, for me, I personally only been through 1 prep, but I will say the biggest mistake that I would make on prep is eating all of my food by like 1 p.m. Right. So like, yeah. So for me, like, and because there were some days like I couldn't really sleep as well. So I was up at like 5 a.m. And then since it was 5 a.m, it was technically the next day. So my calories reset. So I already started to eat, and then, you know, I'd finish all my food. And the biggest thing that I can say that will help with this is get out of the house, stay busy, and find things to do. Right. Because if you're sitting there, even if you're not on bodybuilding prep, for a lot of people, like, food focus, hunger is a lot of just not being busy, right? You don't have things to do in the day. And so your brain's trying to find some way to distract itself, some way to, you know, get some dopamine. And I mean, especially if you're on bodybuilding prep, like, even though it's going to be hard, you might not have the most energy, get out of the house, you know, go try to socialize, at least in the early stages as well, because it will help you so much, not only with just the food aspect and being distracted with that, but mentally as well, right? Because like if you isolate yourself, and it's going to happen, right? Especially later when it really gets down to it, like, you're going to isolate yourself. It's just how it is. But definitely in the early stages, you know, make sure you are trying to stay social. You're trying to, you know, still have strong relationships if you have your partner, or with your family and friends as well. It's very important to do that. So definitely something I would say is make sure you stick to your meal timing, spread it out, right? Stay busy, you know, try to be socially, you know, still at the same level, right? At least in the early stages. And just don't isolate yourself, right? That's the worst thing you can do, is just isolate yourself, especially post show. Make sure you're getting up out of the house, because it's the same thing. You're going to be food focused. You're going to be, you know, have the blues. You're not going to understand, you know, why you're feeling like that. And the best way to do it, or the best way to go about it, is just to get out, talk to people, and socialize.
What are your future goals? Run me through your timeline when it comes to bodybuilding. And yeah, run me through your timeline, your current off season, your future goals for bodybuilding, and any competitions coming up soon.
For sure, man. So right now I'm kind of stuck. I have had the most successful off season so far. I'm the biggest and leanest I've ever been, but I'm contemplating because I'm still really lean, right? I could definitely push the bulk, for at least a couple more months, I'm thinking. And depending on, what I decide to do, if I want to continue to push the bulk or start my deficit at like the end of March. And if I do that, I'm probably going to compete around November time. I'm thinking is kind of like my timeline for the next show. Yeah, I think, I don't really see like the whole reason for, waiting 2 years for me personally. I just really love the experience. I've made a lot of progress. And I think that, especially just getting to a healthy body fat, and even if I wanted to like main game through the summer a little bit before like a true like prep kind of phase, I think that it would be, beneficial for me. But I personally loved competing, even though prep was hard. Like I would do it over and over again. So I'm thinking a November show, most likely going to stick with the same coach. We've already talked a little bit. I think we talked like around a week ago about some potential shows. And I think I'm going to make the switch to classic as well. So we're going to do both a men's and a classic show. Men's just because, just for the fun of it, I got the shorts, might as well. So.
Okay. Yeah. Are you going to do OCB again? Because unfortunately in the OCB, you can only pick one.
Yeah. So we talked about that, and I'm going to do 2 shows. I think if we decide to do that, I might as well just do 2 shows, probably back-to-back weekends or something like, within like a reasonable time frame. But definitely the focus is shifting more to classic. Just because my legs have always been a strong point for me. They get way more, like I don't hold my body fat in my legs. Typically I hold it in my upper body somewhere, in my gut area, my back and things like that. So for me, I think that classic's kind of going to be my strong suit going forward, and I'm excited for it if we decide to do that.
Okay. Super, super sweet. I think so, when you're kind of a rookie and it's your first show, definitely probably do one and done. But as you become an experienced bodybuilder, what I do and what a lot of other people do is they run seasons, and, you'll do 2, 3, some people do 4 or 5 shows back to back, because while you put in all that work to be stage lean, you might as well run a couple shows and get after it, man.
Yeah.
Is your ultimate goal an OCB pro card? And then do you have goals after that as well? Run me through the bodybuilding long-term goals.
100%. So yeah, I definitely am really sent on trying to get the OCB pro card. That's my goal. I think I came up a little short last time, and it just opens the possibilities for me, because I know it's a possibility. It takes time, more time in the game. That's how bodybuilding is, right? It's a very time experience-based sport. And so, yeah, long term, I want to get my OCB pro card, and depending from there, I honestly, I might just stay natty. I've seen so much benefits, and like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I think I have pretty like decent genetics. Right. And so, depending in the future, if I want to take bodybuilding to the next level and really get to like that next stage, I really just don't see myself doing it enhanced. I don't know why. I just don't see myself doing it. I think I'm just going to stay natty. And if I want to compete, I'm going to do it natural and just play the long game.
Yeah, just be a peak natty, play the long game. Don't sacrifice your health for a sport where you can achieve so much naturally. Yeah. I think one of the biggest reasons a lot of people hop on is because on social media, they just see these NPC, IFBB route bodybuilders that blast gear, obviously look sick as they are on exogenous hormones, but they don't know about all these side effects and all the health supplements and all the money that goes into PED bodybuilding and all the mental sides that come with cycling, coming off, not looking your best, going from, using orals, injectables, looking out of this world on your prep, and then the extreme body dysmorphia that these guys get on gear post their show. Once they go into their health phase, they look completely different off all the orals and off the trend, off the prep cycle, right? So I've seen it time and time again where guys on gear, I know a lot of bodybuilders, right? And I know a lot of bodybuilders on gear, as well as a lot of naturals like you, like me. But the bodybuilders on gear are, and sorry to anybody on gear listening to this, but In my experience, they are the most insecure people about their physique, time and time again. And I have a lot of friends, and it hurts my soul how insecure they are, always making comments about their physique, you know, if they're not in their prime, man. And I've heard it with like multiple different, like I could count so many guys that seem to be so insecure about their physique when they are on gear and they are not at their peak. And as a natural, man, like all we're doing year after year is just getting bigger and growing. And, you know, we don't have to worry about health side effects. And the second thing I want to get into is there is so much in the world of natural bodybuilding that people do not know of. Right now, one of the biggest leagues in America is the OCB. Once you become an OCB pro, guys, you can compete in the OCB pro shows for money. You can win money, which is really cool. It is very, very competitive. They have their national show, technically called the Yorton Cup, which has out of this world naturals, guys that look insane, that have just put the time in and become elite natural bodybuilders. And there you can win quite a bit of money. It's a very cool stage, but there is also all these other very competitive leagues as well. There is the WNBF. WNBF, you can qualify for WNBF Worlds, which is one of the most competitive shows in the world. Guys come in lights out. You'd think all these guys are on gear. And it's really, really cool, right? You can win a world title in that league at WNBF Worlds. You can go pro in that league as well. There's also the INBA. You can go pro in the INBA, and that is the league where they have the Natural Olympia. So there's that league in the States as well. Out of the States, there's the ANBF. And then there's also a new show that I want to do when I run my season. My coach, AJ Morris, has created his own league called NBW, Natural Bodybuilding Worldwide. And so he is hosting a yearly show for any pro in a natural division qualifies. So like if you're an OCB pro, if you're a WNBF pro, if you're an INBA pro, you can compete in his natural bodybuilding worldwide pro show and compete against some of the best in the world, which is really, really cool. Also, what I am currently dipping my toes in, what I've done 2 shows of, is the NPC Natty leagues. So they polygraph you the night before, same as OCB, and then they also P-test the winners of each class. I got P-tested at my Arizona show down here. And it is literally an NPC to IFBB route, but tested. And so it's super, super cool. You can do these NPC natural shows, compete in the same exact leagues that qualify you to earn an IFBB pro card. What you do is you have to compete, and then you can go to the natural nationals, right? There's a couple. I think they're doing it in Pittsburgh, and then they have the main one, the Ben Weider, which is over there in Virginia. And these 2 NPC national shows are tested, and you can become a tested IFBB pro, which is super, super sick. So for anybody that says, my goal is to be an IFBB pro, man, I have to hop on gear for my goals, I say, guess what? You can literally compete tested. And so, you know, guys like Swole Ricketts, that's how he got his IFBB pro card. And so it's really, really cool now that the NPC is having more tested shows. There's way more now. And then you can also go to the nationals and become a tested IFBB pro. So point is, there's all these natural leagues, man. There's all this competitiveness in the world of bodybuilding. There's a sport for natural bodybuilders. Whatever league you can compete in, you can chase pro cards around the different leagues, collect as many pro cards as you want. There's also various smaller leagues as well that don't have as many shows even. So there's so much competition in the world of natural bodybuilding. You do not need to get on gear to go ahead and be competitive and be a successful bodybuilder. There was even a natural at the Olympia last year because what happens is at the Ben Weider show that I talked about, that natural national show, the natural pros compete the next day after the amateurs on that Saturday. And guess what? Just like the normal NPC league, if you win the pro show, if you win the IFBB natural show, you qualify for the Olympia. So there was a black guy named Titus, men's physique. He stepped on stage at the Olympia as a natural through the NPC tested route, which I think is super, super cool. And I think a lot of people are uneducated on that.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that it went that deep. And it's like you said, because a lot of people, they think they stick with one federation right? They go and they work their way up to the pro card and like, all right, time to blast, right? It's like there you can spend like, I mean, think about that with everything that you just named, you can spend years and have a really successful career just staying natural, right? And I think like a lot of people, you know, they don't, I mean, bodybuilding in general is kind of really focused on PEDs, especially, you know, just, it's just how it is. But yeah, I think bringing more light to the, I guess, just opportunities as a natural is just insane. And because I mean, me personally, I didn't even know all that. Right. And so, yeah, that's just really cool to see that you can, you know, chase these different pro cards. You can have a very long and sustainable career and never have to touch a PED ever.
Yeah. Do you have any experience with friends getting on PEDs and kind of how you've seen it impact them or people trying to push PEDs on you?
I'm going to be honest. I actually do not. All of my friends that, you know, that I've made in the space, they're all natural. A lot of that is from like, you know, my prep and Michael Donato and just reaching out to other people in the space like that. But I mean, when it comes to being pushed, I mean, yeah, I get probably 20 DMs a week, 30 DMs a week of peptide companies and things like that. And, you know, and especially like it's kind of crazy how a lot of people, I mean, especially with how much, you know, peptides are being pushed right now. Like when they see a natural who's just shredded to the bone, that they just think it's Retta. They just think it's like some magical like potion that got them there. And like a lot of the time, like people can't even fathom that. And so what they're doing is, or what they've been doing is they'll just go and buy peptides. And they've been, you know, they haven't even trained for more than 6 months, a year. And it's just, I mean, the space is just a little strange right now. It's, you know, it's a lot of people, like the peptide industry is just insanely huge. So
yeah, I always say to each their own, right? If you think that the vanity of looking good is worth risking your health, then, you know, that's on you. I've had my own pretty strong takes for a while when it comes to Christianity and PED use, because at the end of the day, I think that yes, bodybuilding, eating healthy, glorifying your body, you know, using your body as a temple to God is great. But when you start to bring PEDs into it, personally, I think it just gets a little vain, and we'll call it what it is. These are illegal drugs, technically, illegal PEDs that people are using for the sport, and they are risking their health to compete in bodybuilding. And I think there's a big difference between risking your health to compete in bodybuilding with drugs or doing it naturally. So to pretty much anyone I talk to, I always try to fight pretty hard for them to stay natural and show them just my different reasonings, because I have talked to a lot of kids that want to get on gear, a lot of, you know, acquaintances that tell me that they're going to hop on peptides, they're going to hop on this, hop on that. And so anytime I run into someone that is trying to go down that route, I just do my absolute best to speak to them with my convictions and my reasoning for things, because I think that it can be a very slippery slope, especially kids these days that don't know what they're doing. They don't know the dosages. They're not working with a coach to keep them safe. They're not getting their blood work done, and they kind of become scientists on their own body. And I think a lot of people are going to regret that in a few years from now. You know, if they potentially mess their bodies up, because, you know, while you're young and while you're obsessed with looking good, it may be easy to buy the easy fix online. So you think, and everyone thinks they're going to be side effect free until it happens. So I think the peptide epidemic, what you're speaking to right now, is a really bad problem with kids, because you know how it is when you're young, your frontal lobe's not developed. You don't think through how these decisions now are going to impact you later.
Yeah. And it's just crazy how easily accessible it is too, right? Anyone who's, I mean, I guess has a credit card and is above the age of like, you know, they can use a freaking tablet or something, they can order them, which is the craziest part about all of it. And yeah, it's crazy to see. And like, for me personally, like, I don't really have like a look on like peptides and like gear and stuff like that. Like, it's, if you want to go that route, like that's up to you. But for me personally, like, I just don't think I'm going to do it. Right. But I do think for peptides, I do have a view on that. And that's like, you shouldn't be on them young, right? You shouldn't be pushing it onto kids, selling it to kids, right? Like there should be some kind of like confirmation. I don't even know if it's possible, but you know, just trying to limit it from the young guys in the space who just really just need to understand what it takes to, you know, train, to eat right, to recover, to just get in there and do it for the fun of it and not be so enveloped and wrapped up into their self-image and comparing it to people online, because it's hard. I mean, it's super hard. And I kind of went through that phase of my prep too. Like I would get in my head so much and like compare myself to other guys and things like that, which is just like, you just don't got to do that. Like literally when it comes to fitness, the coolest thing about it is like you are just consistently working at getting better and better and better. And all of the results that you see, like if you want something great in life, it's going to be an accumulation of your efforts over time. Right. And like, that's the coolest thing, especially, you know, in bodybuilding in general, is just sticking to the work, doing it over and over and over again. And then down the line, you look back and you're like, wow, like I really stuck to it for that long. And I got to somewhere that I'm proud of. That's the coolest part for me, even in business as well. Like it's very easy to get caught up in your own head. You know,
100%, dude. The anxiety, the overthinking, it's so stressful.
Yeah, bro. Like it's like I wake up, you know, pretty much like I'm pretty stressed every day. I always have things to do. I got clients to respond to, but like I also wouldn't really have it any other way, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? Because you said, I think we talked about this previously. It's like you wake up and you're like just flying out of bed because there's things that you have to execute on, and it's cool. I mean, I personally think being busy and having things to do and having, you know, just a rooted why and why you're doing them, it just makes waking up, it makes just life so much more purposeful in general, right? It's instead of just being complacent and neglecting all of these things, especially neglecting your health, like getting up every day and just focusing not necessarily on where you are in the outcomes, right? And comparing your outcomes to other people, which is very easy to do, especially with the online space, but just shifting that focus and understanding, okay, these are things that I struggle with. This is how I'm going to get better today. And then, you know, I'm going to do it again tomorrow.
Pressure either breaks you or it makes you into a diamond, right? Pressure makes diamonds. So I think when you have that pressure, when you have that business, when you have that, you know, long-term goals that you have to stick to when it comes to staying on your meal plan every single day for bodybuilding is, if you can handle the pressure and if you can check your boxes every single day, it will make or break you. And it can really develop that elite mindset and it can develop you into a high value man.
100%, man.
100%. Well, dude, I appreciate you coming on today. Any last words for the audience? What would you give? What's one sentence that you would give anybody listening to this that is wanting to do a bodybuilding prep or maybe, you know, become an online fitness coach as well?
100%. And I think with this, it can seem a little cliche, right? But it to me, it goes across every area of life. It's just stick to the progress or stick to the process, even when you aren't seeing the immediate return on it, right? Because everything great that you want to achieve, everything that you have, you know, when it comes to your goals, your dreams, and just all of these crazy things that you want to achieve for your life, it is an accumulation of your efforts over time. You can't change anything about your current situation right now, right? But what you can do is consistently fail, learn, grow, and just do it every single day. And you're going to shift, and just like your mentality is going to become the person that you want to be and become someone capable of those dreams and those goals for yourself.
One more question for you. So on those days, right? We both have these days, you know, stressful days, right? We have these strong, disciplined mindsets as elite bodybuilders, as coaches, right? We need to lead from the front, but there's always going to be those days where you're mentally down hard on yourself. You're overthinking a decision you made. You're overthinking something negative that happened, and you're a little down. What do you personally tell yourself mentally to kind of pull your head out of your butt on those days where you're down mentally?
100%. I think the only right answer for me is like, there's nothing I can do to get out of my head when it comes to this. And the best thing that I can do is just give it to God, right? To give it to Christ. For me, that has always been the solution, right? And I've tried other things. I've tried, you know, talking to other people, you know, maybe doing like having different vices and things like that I try to resort on and get my mind off it. The only way that I've successfully found, you know, to get over this anxiety, right, is just talking with God, giving it to God. Because what I've begun to learn and understand is that those times that are the hardest, right? That you're the most stressed, everything is not going right. It's uncertain. It's just, everything seems like it's falling apart. It is an opportunity to learn. And there's a reason why you're there, right? You're going to grow. You're going to make it out on the other side. And it's a part of your plan for a reason. And you have to trust God with that and give those anxieties and those problems to him.
Dude, that's powerful. That is powerful. I love that.
Thank you, man.
Dang, bro. Well, hey, where can they find you? Tell them your @.
Yes, sir. So it's Recta on YouTube, Rectah, and on TikTok as well. And my Instagram is @Rectahfit. Yeah, that's pretty much the three platforms that I have as of right now. And I just want to thank Gabe for having me on in the conversation today. It was great.
Hell yeah, bro. Appreciate you.